So guys, while everyone has been talking about the new additions on defense, Durante Jones has quietly been building something that could completely change the way this defense operates. And it's not because of one elite pass rusher or one lockdown corner. Instead, he's asking every defender to do something that most NFL defenses simply don't. And if this system works the way Jones wants it to, Washington won't just be playing faster, they'll be forcing quarterbacks to hesitate, second guess what they're seeing, and make mistakes before the ball is even snapped. So let me break down what exactly Durante Jones' defensive philosophy is, and why Commanders players keep saying this defense feels completely different, and how this one strategy could transform Washington's defense in 2026. What's up, Commanders Nation? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Commanders. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Look, when you actually sit down and listen to the way the players are describing this defense, the word that keeps coming up is chaos. Organized chaos. 11 bodies moving in sync toward the football, and when they get there, it is violent. That is what Durante Jones wants. That is what he demands. And honestly, that phrase tells you everything about the identity of this unit heading into 2026. But here is the part that really got my attention. When you talk to the defensive players individually, they all say the same thing. I am just an X. At first, that sounds like nothing, right? Just some coach speak. But when you dig into what it actually means, it is wild. Being just an X means a guy has to be ready to line up in 9 different spots. It means if somebody else moves, you fill that gap and you play that position instantly, no hesitation. So, from the outside, this defense looks complicated, almost like a puzzle nobody can solve. But internally, every player has a simple rule to follow. You've got big bodies up front and off the edge that all look similar in build, but every single one of them can drop into coverage, buzz a flat, or shoot a gap. That kind of versatility up front is rare, and it changes what the back end has to do. Because here is the truth about defense that people do not always talk about. The front dictates the back end. If your front 7 can be interchangeable and disguise what they are doing, the guys on the back end just have to read the ball and go get it. That is a much simpler job than trying to guess what the offense is doing every single snap, and that is the whole philosophy here. This defense is not built to react to you. It is built to make you react to it. Think about that for a second, because it is a completely different mindset, and it is not something every coordinator in this league is willing to build a whole system around. A defense that reacts is always a step behind, always trying to figure out the offense and stop it after the fact. A defense that dictates terms forces the offense to simplify. It forces the quarterback to make faster decisions with less information, and it forces the offense into base concepts because they are scared of what is coming from different angles. There have been quarterbacks in this league who can handle that, guys who see disguised pressure and coverage rotations and still find the answer at the half. But for a lot of the younger quarterbacks in this division, when they see 8 defenders drop an overload look on one side and a completely different picture after the snap than before it, the only real answer is to simplify and just try to run the ball, and that pre-snap versus post-snap difference is exactly where this defense wants to live. The picture you get before the ball is snapped can be a complete lie. And once a defense earns the right to do that consistently, that is when they get to dictate terms instead of chasing the game. So now let's talk personnel, because the pieces actually fit this philosophy. Up front, this defense does not need a Stevie Wonder level of vision to know where the pressure is coming from, because honestly, it does not matter who is at quarterback for the offense. This front is built to get after the passer and stop the run at the same time. That is the strength of this unit, the front 7, not the back end. And when your strength is up front, it takes so much pressure off the corners and safeties behind them. Which brings us to the back end, and this is where it gets interesting. Nick Cross has apparently gotten a lot bigger, and physically, he is bringing it now. That changes things because most people, myself included, always pictured him as more of a deep third free safety type. If he is playing with that kind of size and physicality now, that opens up Quan Martin to slide into the big nickel role, which fits him much better. And it lets Will Harris operate in the role he is built for as well. Everybody starts sliding into the role that actually fits their skill set instead of being forced into a box. Then there is Trey Amos, and honestly, from the moment he stepped on the field, people around the building were saying, this guy looks like he has been playing 5 years already. He dropped right into the defense immediately, no rookie hesitation, no summer of visible mistakes. He looked like a pro from day one, and I think that matters more than people realize, because there is a difference between a corner who is talented and a corner who instantly understands leverage, timing, and communication the moment he steps on an NFL field. That second type is rare. If he stays healthy and continues on the trajectory he was on before he went down, there is a real argument that he becomes a top 10 corner in this league. That is not a small statement, and it is not one I would make about just any young corner heading into his 2nd or 3rd year. And then you've got Amik Robertson, small in stature but incredibly tough. The kind of corner who can play inside or move outside and still make a tackle, even against a bubble screen or a quick game concept. Because he does not miss when he gets his hands on somebody. As for Mike Sainristil, people want to call last year a down year for him, but that overlooks the fact he still finished with 4 picks and made a bunch of really good plays in the ball. When your pass rush is not fully there yet, somebody in the back end has to make a play, and it fell on him more than people give him credit for. So, when you actually add it all up, corner depth, safety versatility, a front seven that can disguise everything, it is hard to find a real glaring weakness in this unit right now. That does not mean it is finished, nothing ever is, but on paper this defense has answers at almost every level. And honestly, the mental side of this cannot be overstated either. This is not a scheme where a coach just tells a guy, here is your job, go do it. From what players are describing, Daronte Jones is teaching cause and effect. He's explaining why the offense is going to attack a certain way, what they are trying to set up, and what that means for the call that gets made in response. That is a completely different way of coaching a defense, because instead of players just memorizing assignments, they actually understand the logic behind every single call. And when a player understands the why behind a call, they play faster because they are not thinking anymore, they are just reacting on instinct to something they already expected. And here's the other piece that makes this defense scary, and it goes back to coaching philosophy. An aggressive defensive coordinator simplifies the game for a cornerback in a way that a passive scheme never can. If you know you're going to blitz constantly, you basically only have to worry about stopping two route concepts, a slant and a fade, because there simply is not time for the offense to run anything intermediate. Teams cannot sit there and run a full route tree against pressure like that. They've got to get the ball out fast, and that changes the entire rhythm of a game from a corner's perspective. Instead of playing purely reactive, you start to know roughly what is coming because the defense already told you through the calls we are doing this, so they are forced into that. And there is a wrinkle to this that fans usually do not notice unless they are really paying attention. Anytime the ball gets down into the red zone, a defense like this can go to zero coverage, no safety help over the top, and dare the corners to hold up on an island. Nobody announces that on television, but if you watch closely enough, you can tell. The corners know they have got no help, and the challenge becomes purely about winning that one-on-one rep. That is not an easy ask, but when a defense is built around forcing tough, isolated matchups instead of hoping to survive them, it becomes a real weapon in short yardage situations. What makes this even more interesting is how it affects an opposing offense's game plan before the ball is even snapped. When a defense shows disguised looks consistently enough, week after week, opposing coordinators start simplifying their own approach out of caution. You will see offenses shift into heavier personnel, two tight end sets, and just try to run directly at a defense like this, because they do not want to put their quarterback in a position where he has to read a rotating picture on third down. Some of the great ones in this league can handle that kind of chess match no matter what. But for a lot of teams in this division, that is not the case, and that hesitation alone can be worth extra possessions over the course of a season. That is the quiet advantage nobody puts in a headline, but it shows up in the box score by December. Okay, now let's talk about the guy who might be the scariest piece of this whole equation physically, and that is Leo Chenal. This is one of the highest athletic profiles in the entire NFL at his size. There was a play on film where he lined up as a nose guard, took on the center directly, then dropped into coverage and picked off a pass 15 yards downfield. Think about that sequence for a second. Nose guard to coverage to interception, all in one single play. That is not normal. That is the kind of versatility that lets a coordinator move a piece all over the formation and create problems the offense simply cannot scheme for in advance, because they do not know where he is lining up snap to snap. Look, this level of talent does not happen by accident, and it will not last forever either, because that is just how the league works. Good teams eventually have to let good players walk. You cannot pay everybody. So, if this defense is going to make a real leap in 2026, this is the window to do it in while the pieces are still together and everybody is still hungry to prove something. So, when I step back and look at this whole picture, the scary advantage for this defense is not one single player. It is versatility, discipline, and the whole unit being built to dictate rather than react. If Trey Amos stays healthy and Nick Cross keeps growing into this new role, this has a real chance to be one of the most disruptive units in the division. If you are locked in on this Commanders defense heading into the season, make sure you are subscribed because there is a lot more coming as camp gets closer.